So in today's video, we are going to be ranking every single season to ever be released from Epic Games for Fortnite. Now this is going to take ages, so I don't want to waste your time. We're going to get straight into it. But in saying that, if you do enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It helps me out a ton. And with all that being said, let's get into what is, in my opinion, the worst season of Fortnite. So I'm going to talk about a few of the worst seasons. Then I'm going to sort of split them all up into probably like 5 to 10, I'd say. And then I'll discuss all of them in a group. And then when we get down to the bottom 5, I'll do those individually as well. So the worst season, in my opinion, is Chapter 4, Season 3. Now, the reason I think this chapter is so bad is for a few reasons. Now, I do want to mention some positives. I feel like even though the Battle Pass is forgettable, there are some parts of it that are solid. I think that there are cool parts to the map, like the sort of temples that they added. They were decent as well, but overall I think it's mainly negatives when it comes to this season. So let's delve into a couple of those.
As I said, there were some interesting ideas sort of unfolding in this season. However, none of them really felt fully finished, or it felt like maybe more time could have been put into them. Now, this season, its main issue is just being underwhelming. I don't think that there is a truly awful season to ever come out of this game, because usually you can tell a lot of effort was put in whether or not the idea was good or not. Now, this idea, basically, I feel from the start just wasn't going to work. It was just not the best idea to go with. I feel like, as I said, the map, just boring, not very fun to explore. Aside from the little temples that I mentioned, they were fun to explore the first couple times, but same with any Fortnite map. Once you've sort of been to a location more than maybe 2-3 times, you're just like, yep, it's there, and then you don't really care anymore. And the Battle Pass, just very weak. One of the worst ones to come out of Fortnite, in my opinion, possibly the worst. Optimus Prime felt very random. For Transformers fans, I'm sure you loved it and I'm happy for you, but overall just felt very random. No memorable skins again, and probably the worst season.
So now I wanted to talk about Chapter 2, Season 6, which shares quite a few issues, strangely enough, with the worst season, in my opinion, in that the map is boring, the Battle Pass didn't offer too much. I don't want to go too in depth on this one because the issues are actually relatively similar, as I just said. But as I said, the Battle Pass just wasn't great, and overall it was just a bit underwhelming. Again, some ideas were well capitalized on, but I feel like overall this season was a bit of a letdown. Could have been a bit better. And again, the map just wasn't that fun to explore, in my opinion. So let me know what you think of this season, and let's head on to the third worst season,
which in my opinion is Chapter 4, Season 4. So I do want to mention a positive here. I feel like the highest aspect of this was actually pretty fun, pretty interesting, and overall relatively well executed. Definitely not like the worst sort of story or idea that they've had, but I feel like the map, again, big issue, was just alright. It wasn't fun. I don't think they've ever created a map that was downright awful, but I just feel like this one was just sort of forgettable. I honestly don't even remember it now that I'm talking about it. And Battle Pass, it was fine. It wasn't great, just pretty forgettable, I feel, and there was nothing too memorable about this season aside from that heist theme. And I feel like when that's the theme you're going for, they have similar themes like the agency, which isn't really a heist, but it's similar in some ways. So I feel like if you're going to do something similar, you need to be different, have like a big differential factor. But this one just didn't have that. It's just sort of forgettable, at least in my opinion. So now, this one to me is the fourth worst season, and that is Chapter 3, Season 4. So this season to me was just a little bit mediocre. The gameplay changes were fine. Story, same, was fine. It was alright. The map wasn't memorable. Just has similar issues to the last 3 that I just sort of mentioned, and that the season isn't really that awful. I don't think they actually have made an awful season. It's just that this is sort of like the worst of the best because it's just forgettable. All the seasons in front of this has something relatively memorable about it, something that makes it stand out and makes me remember it. These seasons just don't really have that, aside from remembering the fact that they don't really have anything going for them. This season, Battle Pass, passable. It was decent. Again, you guys will probably disagree with a lot of my opinions here, and that's perfectly alright. I just feel like this one was a bit bland, and they could have thought of something cooler, but in saying that, obviously I don't make games, so I don't know how difficult it is. It's likely very difficult to think of different skin ideas, and I do understand that, so definitely not trying to sound like I'm complaining here. I definitely appreciate this season and every season that they've made. I just feel like they've made better ones. Now, as usual, I don't want this video to go for, 20 years. So I am actually going to bunch in 10 of the sort of in-between chapters now. They will be in order, and I will explain why they are all here. So as I said, they will be ranked. So next up, the 10th worst out of these sort of ones I picked here is Chapter 2, Season 8. This one is similar to all the ones that I mentioned before and the ones I'm about to mention. Just a bit forgettable, but I think there are parts to like about this chapter. I think the battle pass is actually a bit of an improvement here. I think it was solid. There was at least 1 or 2 memorable skins included. It's not the best that I can't actually remember which ones they are, so that's a bit embarrassing for me, but I know that there are quite a few standouts in this season, which is why it's here. Chapter 4, Season 2. This one's okay. I think similar reasons. Map was actually decently fun to explore here, I think. Battle Pass, pretty solid. This chapter, same with the chapters that they're in now, is that there's more emphasis on story, and I think the story was actually kind of fun here. It wasn't too bad. Chapter 1, Season 9. This one's moved up a bit for me. I did say it was one of the worst seasons, and I don't think it's great by any means, but I've looked sort of more fondly at the Battle Pass now. I actually do remember playing on this map a little bit more, and I am starting to remember that it is relatively solid. I think that the colourfulness sort of this season has got to me a bit more. I did have trouble picking the best skin from this Battle Pass, and I do sort of still stand by my pick for that season, but I do think that there are other outfits in that season that were actually pretty solid that I sort of overlooked. Chapter 3, Season 2, Chapter 2, Season 5, and Chapter 3, Season 1, all, honestly, basically all, they're all tied, really, to be honest. I think they're all fine. Chapter 3, Season 1, for memory, was the one that focused on Spider-Man. That one was alright. I'm not a massive Marvel person, but I have nothing against Marvel, so I was a very sort of neutral person when it came to this season. I don't love it, don't hate it. It's pretty solid. With Chapter 3, Season 2, and Chapter 2, Season 5, they, to me, were just very, they're good, but I forget about them a lot, which is why I didn't mention them too much. I didn't explain much with them. But then, with Chapter 2, Season 7, Chapter 1, Season 7, I can explain a little bit more, especially on Chapter 1, Season 7. Now, the reason I put it here is because it's 50-50, I've found. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it. So I just found that this chapter overall, to me, I really liked. So I wanted to include it here. Again, planes were pretty controversial. The blade that I'm forgetting the name of, which is a bit embarrassing, it was just a very 50-50 season. A lot of overpowered mechanics coming in, but still pretty fun, I would say. So the next chapters that I want to sort of bunch in together, and this is going to be a lot of them, so try to remember, but I will try to pop them up on screen so you don't forget. Chapter 1, Season 10, in other words, Season X. Chapter 3, Season 3. Chapter 1, Season 5. Chapter 5, Season 2. Chapter 1, Season 8. Chapter 2, Season 1. Chapter 2, Season 3. Chapter 1, Season 6. Chapter 4, Season 1. And Chapter 1, Season 2. That was a lot, I am aware of that. So let me break it down for you a little bit here. So Chapter 1, Season 10, or Season X. Very controversial season, just like Season 7. This one had the mechs and the sort of cool, I don't want to say neon, you could sort of describe it as neon season. There was very cool skins here, but again, this is when Fortnite was sort of looking like it was on its way out. Of course, we had that very cool event at the end where no one could log on to the game. It was just a very interesting season. Another 50-50 one for sure. Now, Chapter 3, Season 3 was pretty good. I really liked this one. I think the Battle Pass is arguably one of the strongest that they've made here. I feel like the map, again, you always got to mention the map because that's where you're spending all your time. It was pretty cool. I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like there were very, very fun locations to sort of explore there, which is similar with a lot of seasons that are about to be mentioned. Chapter 1, Season 5. This one here is actually mainly due to memories and stuff like that, because this one for me might be a bit biased, but I know a lot of people like this season as well. This is one that I started playing around Season 6. So Chapter 1, Season 5 was always sort of the season I was playing at my friend's house and seeing them play. And this is the season that made me realize, like, I think I want to check this game out. But it has a lot of strengths that if you played it, I'm sure I probably don't need to go into. But similar with all the other things I mentioned, good ideas sort of put to paper, put into the game, works really, really well. And as I said, I really love like old school, simplistic Fortnite, but sort of like mixing that with the new mechanics. Now, Chapter 5, Season 2, which is what we are currently in as of recording this season, initially I didn't really like it at all. It probably would have been in like 19th place originally, but I moved it down because it is actually pretty fun. While I'm not a big fan of things like the wings or the sort of other powers that you can get from the Greek mythology characters around the map, I feel like it's a cool idea. While I don't love the story still, I feel like the way that they sort of enhanced the old map of Chapter 5 Season 1 was pretty cool. But in saying that, I'm not too big on the new locations, but I think the battle pass has grown on me a bit. I think the skins are pretty cool. All the things you can unlock, very fun. Overall, I think this chapter, Chapter 5 Season 2 here, just gets a lot of hate. And it's still, in my opinion, not as good as the first season of this chapter, but it is still pretty solid. Now, Season 8 of Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of Season 2, not Chapter 2 of Season 2, oh my god, Chapter 2, Season 1. These ones, I don't have too much to say about Season 8 of Chapter 1. I feel like this one was just cool, a very cool battle pass. The theme of it felt pretty different to the previous seasons in Chapter 1. Like when I was going through all this, I swore that this chapter, like this was part of Chapter 2, but it's not. It was very surprising to me. It just feels very unique to the rest of that chapter. Now, Chapter 2, Season 1 might be a little controversial because it lasted for so long, but this for me was like when it was my, I guess, peak in Fortnite, and that I was playing it the most then, again because of things like quarantine, because of COVID and stuff like that. No one could really leave their house, so I was playing this game a bunch, and I was leveling up, having a lot of fun with my friends playing this. And yeah, the season lasted ages, but I wasn't that into Fortnite yet, so to me it just felt normal, so it didn't bother me much. But this season gets a lot of hate because of how long it went on for, but I actually really enjoyed it. So we're running out of time here, so the rest of these I just want to mention. They were all fun, awesome battle passes, great gameplay. Not all of them added new mechanics, but the ones that did worked very well and were very, very fun. Just enjoyed them. Battle Pass was awesome, very fun to explore. But now we have to get into the top 5.
Alright, so now we're going to look at the top 5 individually to see which season I think is the best. So one that's moved down a little bit for me is actually Chapter 2, Season 2. This one I have a lot of fond memories with. I think the Battle Pass is arguably one of the best to ever be released, but it's moved down a little for me because it used to be my favorite, or at least my second favorite season, but now it's moved down, I guess you could say up. And this isn't because I think it's worse, it's actually because I think that I underestimated a few seasons, and I remember playing a few that I actually missed on my best seasons or worst seasons video. So I feel like I had to move some up and some down, which you would have noticed if you saw that video. Overall though, this season is great. It came out during COVID, so a lot of people were at home and played this season. A lot of fond memories with it, a lot of fun times with friends overall. I think that this season was just very fun, a very cool theme to it with the agency and everything like that. Worked very well, and definitely understand why it's a lot of people's favorite. But for me, it is still an amazing season. Still, again, it made it to the top 5, so I still love it. Just think that there are actually some seasons a little better. Okay, so now Chapter 1, Season 4. That season was pretty cool. It's one that I actually underestimated. I feel like the Battle Pass is very underrated. It is maybe my favorite, or one of my favorite at least. It has some very iconic skins in it. I really like the map in this season as well. Overall, I just feel like I put it so high because it's just one that I never really looked at too much because I only played a little bit of it, so I didn't think it was that great. But looking back on it now, I feel like it added a lot of iconic sort of things to the game. Really cool battle pass, awesome skins in it, and I think the map had a lot of sort of iconic locations that, sure, they might not have introduced. Season 3 introduced a lot of iconic locations, same with Season 2, but overall, I feel like this season just gets a little overshadowed because of the previous seasons and ones that would come after. This one's just very cool to me and definitely deserves this spot. So this is definitely going to be controversial. Chapter 5, Season 1. I don't know if you heard that, my chair squeaked. I did not rip ass. This season is so good. And I know a lot of people don't really see that, and I kind of understand. But I feel like this chapter is so good, not necessarily for the improvements to the Battle Royale, although I do think that was a big part of it. Sort of revamped mechanics, making sort of, again, mechanics in the game feel smoother and better, and I think that worked. The game is actually funner, at least in my opinion, with, you know, things like the modded weapons and things like that, and the boss fights, medallions. But the reason I think this is so good is because they added more to do. You got the rocket racing and the Fortnite festival and Lego Fortnite now. You have so many more options. This wasn't introduced in chapter 5, but you also had like creative to do. So you have like a whole bunch of things and different ways to earn XP, which is good for someone like me who gets bored of Battle Royale relatively quickly. The reason I put it here in the top 3 is because I genuinely think that it is a great season. And it gets a lot of hate, which I can sort of understand, but I feel like this season helped the game more than damage it, which can't be said for a lot of the seasons that were up higher on the list. So secondly, I had Chapter 1, Season 3. So this one is very iconic, and as I said, it does sort of overshadow a lot of the other seasons in the chapter, but in saying that, it is for good reason. Very iconic skins and locations introduced in this chapter. John Wick, of course. And even though one of my viewers made it very aware to me that this was more of a, I guess, rip-off skin because he wasn't really called John Wick, it's still meant to be John Wick right at the end of the day. So my laptop's turning off, stop doing that. Overall, I feel like this chapter sort of I don't need to explain it too much. I feel like if you played this, you know how special it was. I didn't get to play it too much, but from what I played, probably my favorite season ever of Fortnite, just in terms of playing. And I remember playing it a little bit, and it was just always very fun. I love the simplicity of Fortnite, and I feel like Fortnite was at its best in Chapter 1 when it was very simplistic before all the weapons and the planes and the Infinity Blade is what it was called. I just remembered that from Season 7. That's annoying. Anyways, I feel like this was just a big improvement over the couple seasons that had come before it, and it was honestly probably where Fortnite hit its peak relatively early, I think. Okay, so my number 1 spot, and I said this in my other video, I'm not too sure if this qualifies as a season, but I've counted it anyway, and that's the OG season of Fortnite that was only around for about a month. This is the most fun I've ever had playing Fortnite, maybe playing any game, to be quite honest. It was awesome because, sure, it might not have felt too OG because of all the new mechanics, but I feel like they mixed Fortnite, sort of new Fortnite and old Fortnite, to create something really good. So old Fortnite is better in my opinion because of things like the map, the locations, the skins, but new Fortnite is better for things like the gameplay and the mechanics, and arguably the story as well. And this season, aside from maybe the story element, mixed those together and made something really cool. And I feel like the battle pass here was actually pretty solid. It actually felt like OG skins, whether it was because, you know, they were just sort of redoing older skins but with a new element to them, or whether you think that's a factor or not, obviously up to you. And I think it did play a bit of a part in it, but overall I think it was a great season, great battle pass. And I like how they sort of changed it towards the end with adding things like planes and stuff like that. But I think it showed that Fortnite is at its best when it sort of mixes old and new.
Holy hell, that took way too long to make. I'm doing voiceover right now, obviously, which is actually the first part that I do when making a video. So I already know this is going to take me at least another 5 hours to make. So, because I've done no editing yet. So please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. This is going to take me so long. In saying that, of course, I really, really hope that you enjoyed the video. And let me know your opinions, your favorite seasons, your worst seasons. Let me know. I hope to see you in the next video. I'm gonna go cry.